Hello everyone, this is Stasha Erickson, and I am here today with the message to bring you another class. Today's topic of discussion will be the Black Stone. Now, for those of you who took my Kaaba 101 class, you will know all about this stone, as it is a part of the Kaaba structure. If you haven't been familiar with the first class that I've released here on this website, please check it out. It is known as Kaaba, the Black Cube 101. The Kaaba is a mosque in the center of Mecca, Saudi Arabia, where one of the four corners of this mosque is known, is where the black stone that we will discuss today is located. Now, for today's class, we will be doing the 101 level of this class, and this will be the informative, research-based class. Now, there will be a follow-up to this one, which will be the Black Stone 102, and that will cover more of the conspiracy theory topics and different myths and legends and folklore that are surrounding this stone. So we're going to start here with the basics because, as I always say, truth is stranger than fiction. And I hardly even need to get into the conspiracy theories once you can hear how amazing and unbelievable the actual proven facts are. Now, the Black Stone has many, many, many connections to Lucifer and Adam and Eve and essentially the fall of man. And we will get into that throughout this course, but we will dive into it a lot deeper when we don't have so many rules and structures to go by as we do in these first introductory classes. There's a lot of conspiracy and legend based around this stone that it 100% came from when Lucifer fell from heaven. But we mostly need to focus today on the actual facts of the physical stone and the remains of it, or the fragments of it, really, that remain at the corner of this Kaaba building in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Now, many other people have pieces of this stone, which is something I have mentioned to people as well in the past. And that will be part of what we will get into as well in the 102 class, because it has a lot to do with our current political leaders, as well as our royal family. And that's just to name a few. But it goes way, way, way deeper than even that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start at the beginning. Now, for each of my classes, I always provide you with a PDF ebook, which is full of all the reference material that I will cover here in this course. If for some reason you do not have the ebook, please contact me at the contact page on our website at themessagesonline.com, and I will be happy to email you a copy of the ebook for free. And yeah, let's just get going here at the beginning. And if you have any questions at all, please do also leave feedback on the contact page of our website. There's a form there where you can contact us directly and ask any questions at all that you like about this. And if I get enough questions on the same topic, I will do a follow-up video and just kind of release that to the public on my YouTube channel for the world. Because I believe that all questions should be answered, especially when it comes to something that is this deep and complex. I've been studying it for several years now, and I still do not really have my head fully wrapped around what is actually going on here. But I always listen to my gut, and I always listen to my divine feelings and my divine intuition. And I have a lot of conversations with God, so to speak, and I'm always checking in to see what humanity needs to know the most about at this time. And if this stone and this cube came up one more time and I didn't talk about it, I felt that I was kind of leaving the people hanging. A lot of people are so caught up in their day-to-day routines and their structures and their schedules and their little bubble, they don't really have time to dive into things that could be affecting the bigger picture of this world. It is so hard to look outside of our own little boxes sometimes, because even those are so difficult just to get through. Just to get through a day sometimes can be almost impossible for some people. And I can relate to that on a daily basis. I would love to just deeply dive into this all day long if I could, because there are so many layers to these topics. They're just like an onion. They really do. The layers just keep going and going and going. My husband and I live apart half of the month. He lives in Norway part of the time, and I live in Ireland the other half of the time. And when we are together, for the times that we're together, we literally just research day and night, night and day on these type of topics. When we can, we do it as often as we can. And it's not like we're trying to, crack the code to the universe, but we just see that these things are affecting humanity. And when certain red flags are brought to your attention and you do not speak up about it or do something about it, then I feel that you're kind of dropping the ball and you're really not taking responsibility for your part. So that, in that respect, you should not go around complaining about humanity or the world as the way it is if you haven't done your part. For me, I live in an isolated location, and the best way that I can reach the people and service humanity is through the internet and through classes like this, because I can't physically be everywhere. Even my children's school is almost 45 minutes away from my house. So I wish that I had the opportunity just to go, from school to school, from, a spiritual meditation group to, meditation group around the world to be able to talk about stuff like this. But it gets quite expensive to travel the world. We did it for a short time last year. We did a lot of pilgrimages, and we followed the footsteps of the Cathars, and went all over France and Spain and a load of other places, Amsterdam as well. And it was very expensive, and although it was a lot more intense to go to these places, put our foot in the grave, so to speak, that these people had walked, it came with it a lot of physical strain and stress and attachment. It's very draining to go to these sites, especially when they're encased in stone that has recorded all of the cellular memory and pain that many of these people had been through. Montségur alone was the place where the Cathars had been burned alive, and we literally followed every footstep they took, and I felt that pain for many months after I left that place. So what's safe for me right now is to bring you guys as many facts as possible, because I can tell you right now, the more I have learned about Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and the more I have learned about this place, I can tell you there is no way that I would go to this place. Not in this lifetime. Not unless I had no choice. If I had to, I would go, but it is that serious that I feel this is a very, very dark location, and it is being manipulated by, beings there that believe that they have something we don't have, and this could be their stone. So I do apologize if I went off on a little bit of a left field rant there, but the main thing I can keep real on the message and with these classes is that I'm always going to include my opinion in all of this, because I have to have a reason and a love and a drive to bring these topics to all of you. I have to feel a passion and a motivation behind it. And that is why I try to share as much of the path that I've been to up to this point with all of you, so that you can see I'm not just someone sitting here reading information off the internet to you or out of books to you. This is a lifelong journey for myself, and I feel that most of you listening to this class are on a similar journey yourselves, because you probably wouldn't care so much about something like the Black Stone. You'd probably just be watching the Grammys or a football game. And there's nothing wrong with the Grammys, and there's nothing wrong with football games. However, if we are distracted by things that do not make humanity a better place, things that involve competition. For instance, football and award shows, what are they based around? Competition. These basic traits of human beings are lacking right now. Compassion and acceptance of all and a balance is severely lacking at this time. And when I see a place and a structure in the world that should be a structure and a location of religious and spiritual significance, when I see people parading around a stone like zombies all day long, and fighting over a stone where there's an armed guard with an automatic weapon standing next to the stone. I think there's something going on around here. And I'm going, hello? Is this a zombie world? Does anyone else see that there's something very strange going on here? Hello? You don't have to live in this place and see these things every day, but there is something big going on. Please look at all the imagery that I will include in the ebook that comes with this class, because you will just be mesmerized by the haunting vision that it is to see these pilgrims, doing the tawaf around the Kaaba structure. So now that I've kind of given you an intro as to what direction these classes have been trying to touch upon, let's go ahead and get now into the facts, and you could follow along with your ebooks from this point on. And we will go to talk about the Black Stone. Now, the Black Stone is the eastern cornerstone of the Kaaba, which is the ancient stone building towards which Muslims pray in the center of the Grand Mosque in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. It is revered by Muslims as an Islamic relic which, according to Muslim tradition, dates back to the time of Adam and Eve. Now, this is what I spoke about earlier. And I really do encourage anyone listening to this class, if you have not purchased the Kaaba 101 class, or if you haven't listened to the sample class at least, or you are not already educated with the Kaaba building, please do yourself a favor. And if this Black Stone is interesting you, please learn as much as you can about the Kaaba stone, or take the other class that I provided, because I'm telling you, a lot of this will make a lot more sense if you know already about the Kaaba. Okay, now the stone was venerated at the Kaaba in pre-Islamic pagan times. According to Islamic tradition, it was set intact into the Kaaba's wall by the Islamic prophet Muhammad in the year 605 AD, 5 years before his first revelation. Since then, it has been broken into a number of fragments and is now cemented into a silver frame in the side of the Kaaba. Its physical appearance is that of a fragmented dark rock, polished smooth by the hands of millions of pilgrims. Islamic tradition holds that it fell from heaven to show Adam and Eve where to build an altar. Although it has often been described as a meteorite, this hypothesis is now uncertain. Now, there is a ton of research actually to this point that proves that it is a meteorite, and we will get into that later. It is without a doubt a stone that fell from heaven. Muslim pilgrims circle the Kaaba as part of the tawaf ritual of the Hajj. Many of them try, if possible, to stop and kiss the black stone, emulating the kiss that Islamic tradition records that it received from Muhammad. If they cannot reach it, they point to it on each of their 7 circuits around the Kaaba. And what they mean by this is that they go around and around and around this Kaaba building 7 times as they're praying. And also, they have to do this 7-time circumambulation 5 times per day. It also has to be facing a specific direction. If they cannot touch the stone, like they said, they have to point at it. This is what I spoke about in the Kaaba class before. Now, there will be a photo provided in this ebook, and you will see what I spoke about earlier. There is an armed guard standing at this corner, right next to where they have the fragments of the stone encased in this massive silver frame, which looks to me like a womb. It's a very, feminine shape there. But it is made of it's a silver, really womb-shaped frame that these little fragments are cemented into. But anyhow, in your book, you will see there is a man standing there, an armed guard with it looks to me like a machine gun. It is an automatic weapon for certain. I don't know a lot about guns. All I know is that I hate them. But it looks to me like, like a machine gun. And he is standing there, and each pilgrim is coming up, and they're trying to kiss this stone. And apparently, if they kiss or touch it more than once, the guard has right to shoot them. It's something insane like that. I will continue, but it just blows my mind. Okay, now it says, Muslims pilgrims jostle for a chance to kiss the black stone. If they are unable to kiss the stone because of the crowds, they can point towards the stone on each circuit with their right hand. In each complete circuit, a person says, in Arabic, "In the name of God, God is great, God is great, God is great, and praise be to God." Once people have kissed the stone, a guard stands ready to push them away. So he is there. Yeah, that is his job. This guard is standing there with his automatic weapon, machine gun, looks like an assault rifle. And he's standing there in his military garb and everything with all of his badges and his regalia. And if you kiss it more than once, he will push you away. And I would say that if you were to get any type of out of hand, you would be probably shot on sight. I would be curious to find out if there's cases where people have been shot there at the Kaaba structure. If anybody knows about that, please let me know. Now we'll get more into the details of the stone and the physical description of what is left of this stone at the point of now. The black stone consists of a number of fragments held together by a silver frame. Again, this looks like a womb or like an eye shape or an oval egg shape. It's very strange. It is fastened by silver nails to the stone. Some of the smaller fragments have been cemented together to form the 7 or 8 fragments visible today. So I wonder if it's 7 or 8. I'd be interested to know. I have a feeling it's probably 7. That feels like the right number to me. The stone's exposed face measures about 20 centimeters, which is 7.9 inches, by 16 centimeters, which is 6.3 inches. Its original size is unclear. Its recorded dimensions have changed considerably over time, though, as the stone has been remodeled on several occasions. And it makes me think that whenever these people are remolding or remodeling it, they're probably keeping a little piece for themselves too. And this also brings me to where I believe that I've seen many other political leaders and other people of power that have pieces of this stone. So this just really confirms more of my theories here, to see that there's more and more of this being pieces of this stone missing at this point. They're definitely giving it to powerful people. Once they really know what this thing does and it gets into the hands of the right person, it can be extremely dangerous, because people may not believe in witchcraft and witches and wizards and things like that, but they do exist. And the main thing about these people is that if you can at least believe that mind over matter, or like the magic of believing that these things are true, like that your mind is very powerful, then of course, if you know something very powerful and you have a device or an object that is of equal power to the knowledge that you have and the will that you have and the intention that you have, then you could do something really bad with it. Just in the same way that if someone of a very good intention and of a very good high vibration and a very good intent has something that's very powerful and strong in a good way, like let's say a really powerful crystal that has a lot of healing properties, maybe it's from Lemuria or from some mystical land, or who knows, it can work the same way. So just think about that. Witches and wizards are real, and they're real because they believe these things to be real. And you can really create things with our minds. We create things with our minds, especially for those of you that out there that believe we create our own reality. Has a lot to do with that. So if you believe your mind is so powerful, then you have to believe that there's people out there that are creating very dark and very powerful things with their minds and with physical objects combined, and that could really, really be tampering with the rest of humanity. So let's get back to more about the stone then. In the 10th century, an observer described it as being 1 cubit. By the early 17th century, it was recorded as measuring 1.5 yards. According to Ali Bey in the 18th century, it was just 42 inches, and Muhammad Ali Pasha reported it as being 2.5 feet. So you see, it's all over the place. This thing definitely used to be a lot bigger. So now we've got it proven. Muhammad himself said that it was 2.5 feet by 1.5 feet. So why is it so small now? The Black Stone was first described in Western literature in the 19th and early 20th centuries by European travelers in Arabia, who visited the Kaaba in the guise of pilgrims. Swiss traveler Johann Ludwig Burckhardt visited Mecca in 1814 and provided a detailed description in his 1829 book, Travels in Arabia. Now, there will be some more images as well in the ebook of a close-up of the Black Stone on the corner of the Kaaba in the silver frame and everything. And there will also be a picture of the fragmented Black Stone, the front and side illustrations, so you can see, you know, what's left of it and what it looks like now. And you'll see it's just crazy, the difference. Now, I will read a little bit of an excerpt of that book from 1829 by Johann Ludwig Burckhardt, where he's describing it, the Black Stone. It says, "It is an irregular oval about 7 inches in diameter with an undulated surface composed of about a dozen smaller stones of different sizes and shapes, well joined together with a small quantity of cement, and perfectly well smoothed. It looks as if the whole had been broken into as many pieces by a violent blow and then united again. It is very difficult to determine accurately the quality of this stone, which has been worn to its present surface by millions of touches and kisses that it has received. It appeared to me like a lava containing several small extraneous particles of a whitish and of a yellow substance. Its color is now a deep reddish brown approaching to black. It is surrounded on all sides by a border composed of a substance which I took to be a close cement of pitch and gravel of a similar, but not quite the same, brownish color. This border serves to support its detached pieces. It is 2 or 3 inches in breadth, and rises a little above the surface of the stone. Both the border and the stone itself are encircled by a silver band, broader below than above, and on the 2 sides, with a considerable swelling below, as if a part of the stone were hidden under it. The lower part of the border is studded with silver nails." So it's very strange, all the silver references I've noticed as well. You know, silver has a lot of spiritual significance. It's one way to ward off werewolves and vampires, I know as well. Now, there was another person who was speaking about the Kaaba in 1853, and that was Richard Francis Burton. And he noted that the color appeared to be black and metallic, and the center of the stone was sunk about 2 inches below the metallic circle. Round the sides was a reddish-brown cement almost level with the metal and sloping down to the middle of the stone. The band is now a massive arch of gold or silver gilt. I found the aperture in which the stone is, 1 span and 3 fingers broad. Ritter von Luren, an Austrian consul general in Egypt, was able to inspect a fragment of the stone removed by Muhammad Ali in 1817, and reported that it had a pitch black exterior and a silver gray, fine-grained interior in which tiny cubes of a bottle green material were embedded. There are reportedly a few white or yellow spots on the face of the stone, and it is officially described as being white with the exception of the face. The frame around the Black Stone and the black kiswa, or cloth enveloping the Kaaba, were for centuries maintained by the Ottoman sultans in their role as custodian of the 2 holy mosques. The frames wore out over time due to the constant handling by pilgrims and were periodically replaced. Worn-out frames were brought back to Istanbul, where they still kept as part of the sacred relics in the Topkapi Palace. Now we will speak a little bit about the history and tradition of the Black Stone. And Now, before I get into the reference material from the ebook, I did watch a video on YouTube that was discussing a lot about the stone actually it was from a Muslim perspective. And I just wanted to read a quote to you from that video. And what it says, one of these pilgrims was talking about when he actually went to Mecca. And what he said was, "At Hajj time, you are actually unlikely to see the black stone. It is just too crowded there. There is a line on the floor of the masjid to tell you where the line of the black stone is. Many Hajis must perform tawaf, not on the Kaaba floor, but on the second or third stories of the Masjid al-Haram. On levels number 2 and 3, there are both marks on the floor and neon lights to show you where to start and to stop your tawaf. The scholars agree that waving in the direction of the black stone is sufficient recognition of its location as the start and stop of tawaf. In actuality, waving in direction of the black stone is the best you will probably do at the Hajj time." So here is a pilgrim saying firsthand that is basically the closest that you're ever going to get to the stone. If you think that you're going to be able to touch or kiss the stone, it's probably not going to happen. So I found that very interesting as well. I mean, that is how busy and packed this place is. Never mind the guard that won't let you get near it, that it's so packed there. So that's why I really want you guys to take a look at what, the tawaf looks like. He then went on to say that the black stone has had an interesting history during the Islamic period. That in 930 AD, a ruler of Bahrain, who belonged to a branch of Islamians known as the Karmatians, sacked Makkah and carried the black stone away for some 70 years until it was ransomed. And that in the process, the black stone was cracked, and that it is now held together by that silver band. The fact that Islam was able to function without the black stone for 70 years is one of the best illustrations that it is but a marker for tawaf and not an object of worship. So these Muslims are it's kind of an argument going on between them saying, is this something that you worship, or is this just a marker to start your tawaf? And your tawaf, again, for those who didn't take the Kaaba 101 class, the tawaf is, the prayers, the walking around. So it has a lot to do with, are you worshiping the stone, or are you just marking your pilgrimage? What is actually going on here? There's a lot of arguments going on within the Muslim community about that specific topic. There was even another video that I saw as well from a Muslim perspective, and there was a guy talking about that the Kaaba was destroyed, the black stone was stolen, and it was defiled and used as a toilet for 40 years. This guy was basically saying, he released this video in 2012, and he said that centuries ago, the Kaaba was destroyed and the black stone was stolen by Al-Qaramita or Karamita sect of Islam, who used it as a toilet for over 20 to 40 years. History of the Kaaba and the black stone that most Muslims do not know. So I'm like, what is that about? So that is a really interesting video. If you just go to YouTube and you type in Kaaba destroyed, black stone stolen, that is the actual title of the video. And it even says defiled and used as a toilet for 40 years. So definitely check that video out. There's a lot of arguments kind of going on within the community talking about this stuff. So this isn't, it's definitely, no one has any answers about the stone. So that's why we have to really, crack this open. Okay, now back to history and tradition. The black stone was revered well before the preaching of Islam by Muhammad. By the time of Muhammad, it was already associated with the Kaaba, a pre-Islamic shrine that was revered as a sacred sanctuary and a site of pilgrimage. In her book Islam, a short story, Karen Armstrong asserts that the Kaaba was dedicated to Hubal, a Nabatean deity, and contained 360 idols, which either represented the days of the year or were effigies of the Arabian pantheon. According to Ibn Ishaq, an early biographer of Muhammad, the Kaaba was itself addressed as a female deity. 3 generations before the advent of Islam, the Semitic cultures of the Middle East had a tradition of using unusual stones to mark places of worship, a phenomenon which is reflected in the Hebrew Bible as well as the Quran. Although bowing to or kissing such sacred objects is repeatedly described in the Tanakh as the subject of prophetic rebuke. So they're always going on and on about, do not idol worship, do not give in to idol worship, but what is the difference of what they are doing with this stone? Some writers remark on their apparent similarity of the black stone and its frame to the external female genitalia, and ascribe to this earlier association with fertility rites. So that's the first thing I was saying to you guys earlier. It literally mimics female genitalia. So there's people here already speaking about this as well. And you can follow into the history and tradition section of your ebook, where you will have reference material for all of this there. I will also have an image of a 1315 illustration from the Jami al-Tariq, inspired by the Sirah Rasul Allah story of Muhammad and the Meccan clan elders lifting the black stone into place. Now, a red stone was associated with the deity of the South Arabian city of Gamain, and there was a white stone in the Kaaba of Al-Abalat, near the city of Tabala, which is south of Mecca. Worship at that time period was often associated with stone reverence, mountains, special rock formations, or distinctive trees. Now, the Kaaba marked the location where the sacred world intersected with the profane. An embedded black stone was a further symbol of this as an object that linked heaven and earth. So, Muhammad is credited with setting the black stone in place in the wall of the Kaaba. A story found in Abi Abshak's Sur Rasul Allah tells us how the clans of Mecca renovated the Kaaba following a major fire which had partly destroyed the structure. The black stone had been temporarily removed to facilitate the rebuilding work. The clans could not agree on which one of them should have the honor of setting the black stone back in its place. They decided to wait for the next man to come through the gate and ask him to make the decision. That individual happened to be the 35-year-old Muhammad, 5 years before his prophethood. He asked the elders of the clans to bring him a cloth and put the black stone in its center. Each of the clan leaders held the corners of the cloth and carried the black stone into the right spot. Then Muhammad himself set the stone in place, satisfying the honor of all the clans. The stone has suffered desecrations and significant damage over the centuries. It is said to have been struck and smashed to pieces by a stone fired from a catapult during the Umayyad siege of Mecca in 683. The fragments were rejoined by Abd Allah ibn Abzubayr using a silver ligament. In January 930, it was stolen by the Qarmatians, who carried the black stone away to their base in Hajar, which is the modern Bahrain. According to Ottoman historian Kut al-Din, writing in 1857, Qarmatian leader Abu Tahir al-Qarmati set the black stone up in his own mosque, the Masjid al-Dirar, with the intention of redirecting the Hajj away from Mecca. However, this failed, and pilgrims continued to venerate the spot where the black stone had been. So this guy is probably who the guy in the video that I spoke about a little earlier was referring to. So he was kind of trying to be God in a way, or be like Abraham and just set the stone, or be like Muhammad rather, and set the stone wherever he decided. But the people were used to their, where they did the tawaf, so they weren't going to suddenly change everything. So that's got to be what the guy was referring to when he said it was desecrated. Now, according to historian Al-Juyani, the stone was returned 23 years later in 952. The Qarmatians held the black stone for ransom and forced the Abbasids to pay a huge sum for its return. It was wrapped in a sack and thrown into the Friday Mosque of Kufa, accompanied by a note saying, "By command we took it, and by command we have brought it back." Its abduction and removal caused further damage, breaking the stone into 7 pieces. Aha, so I was right. It was 7 pieces. I was really feeling that. It's a very significant number as well. If you guys know, a lot of significance about 7 came up in the Kaaba class as well. Let's see here. Now, its abductor, Abu Tahir, is said to have met a terrible fate. According to Kubt al-Din, the filthy Abu Tahir was afflicted with a gangrenous sore. His flesh was eaten away by worms, and he died a most terrible death. So, in other words, don't mess with this stone. It makes me think about King Tut and the curse that was on his tomb, and anyone that disrupted his tomb would have a curse as well. Let's see here. Now, in the 11th century, a man allegedly set by Fatimid Caliph al-Hakim Allah, and again, I am probably butchering most of these names. I'm a native Californian, and I'm living in Ireland and married to a Norwegian, so I hear a lot of dialects all day long, and I'm doing my best here. I definitely do not hear Arabic on a regular basis, so please forgive me if I'm butchering any of these names. All of this information will be in your ebook. Every single word I speak, that's not just coming straight from the heart. Anything that's research-based, I will have on here for you. So if I'm butchering the names, just please forgive me. Now, he attempted to smash the black stone, but was killed on the spot, having caused only slight damage. In 1674, according to Johann Ludwig Bernhardt, someone smeared the black stone with excrement. Ah, there's that video I talked about a little while ago. Okay. So someone smeared the black stone with excrement so that everyone who kissed it retired with a sullied beard. Oh my gosh. Now the Shiite, which really looks like shite, the Shiite Persians were suspected of being responsible and were the target of curses from other Muslims for centuries afterwards. Although explorer Sir Richard Francis Burton doubted that they were the culprits, he attributed the act to, quote unquote, I will say, some Jew or Greek who risked his life to gratify a furious bigotry. Wow, wow, wow. So this is really crazy. So think about that now. It is proven here, it's documented. They did shit on this stone, and now people all day long are going around the corners and they're kissing it and they're rubbing their face all over it. I mean, they excremented on this thing. That is what they believed. They believed this stone was BS or bullshit. So this is, wow. I'm really just amazed by this. Now, I know there's many dark things behind Christianity and everything that goes on there, but this is just really shocking me here today. What I'm bringing to all of you. I'm telling you, no matter how much research I do, I'm always finding out more things about the stone and about that building that are just insane. And we haven't even really gotten into the conspiracies yet. I've just been really sharing with you guys facts up until this point. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Okay, now what we're going to do is talk about the ritual part of all this, the role of the ritual involved. So the black stone plays an important role in the central ritual of the Hajj, when pilgrims must walk 7 times around the Kaaba in a counterclockwise direction. So they're not even going in a clockwise direction, which would mean, forward movement. They're going counterclockwise around this building, which to me sounds counterproductive. So I don't know what that's about either, but that really draws a huge red flag to me as well. They attempt to kiss the black stone 7 times, once for each circumambulation of the Kaaba, emulating the actions of Muhammad. And that's circumambulation again. That's just when they walk around it 7 times. Now, in Muhammad times, large crowds would make it practically impossible for everyone to kiss the stone. So it's currently acceptable for pilgrims to simply point in the direction of the stone on each of their circuits around the building. Some even say that the stone is best considered simply as a marker, useful in keeping count of the ritual circumambulations, known as tawaf, that one has performed. Its black color is deemed to symbolize the essential spiritual virtue of detachment and poverty for God, and the extinction of the ego required to progress towards God. And there will also be another photo for you guys there of the Kaaba in Mecca, and you will see where the black stone is set into the eastern corner of the building. I mean, this building is crazy looking. I have actually watched videos of people kissing the stone, like up close and personal on YouTube. The energy that you feel from watching that video for like 30 seconds is so high stress. You can hear people just screaming and yelling and chanting, and it feels, I mean, I had knots in my belly just watching other people kiss it. It was crazy. So please check some videos on YouTube for people kissing the Kaaba stone. Let's see here now. I will go on again. Now, there is writing in a book called Dawn in Medina, A Pilgrim's Progress. And in that, Muzaffar ibn Wakal described his experience of venerating the black stone during a pilgrimage to Mecca. And he said, "At the end of the second circumambulation of the Kaaba, I was granted one of those extraordinary moments which sometimes occur around the black stone. As I approached the corner, the large crowd was suddenly pushed back by a strong man who had just kissed the black stone. This push generated a backward current, creating a momentary opening around the black stone as I came to it. I swiftly accepted the opportunity, reciting, Bism ihali, Allahu Akbar, wa lahari hamd. In the name of God, God is great, all praise to God. Put my hands on the black stone and I kissed it. Thousands of silver lines sparkled, the stone glistened, and something stirred deep inside me. A few seconds passed, then I was pushed away by the guard." So something magical is going on here. One guy kisses it and it causes a big current of people to push back. That sounds pretty insane. The other guy, right after this happens, goes in and kisses it, and he's saying he sees, silver sparkles of light going everywhere. That sounds like something to me too. So we will now go into the meaning and symbolism of the stone. Now, the black stone, in Muslim belief, originated from the time of Adam. According to belief, an angel spoke to the prophet Abraham and told him to institute the rite of the stone in the Hajj at Mecca. Islamic tradition holds that the stone fell from heaven to show Adam and Eve where to build an altar, which became the first temple on earth. Now, Muslims believe that the stone was originally pure and dazzling white, but has since turned black because of the sins of the people. According to a prophetic tradition, touching them both the black stone and al-Rukn al-Yamani, is an expiation for sins. Adam's altar and the stone were said to have been lost during Noah's flood and forgotten. Ibrahim was said to have later found the black stone at the original site of Adam's altar when the angel Jibrail revealed it to him, or the angel Gabriel. Ibrahim ordered his son Ismail, who is an ancestor of Muhammad, to build a new temple, the Kaaba, in which to embed the stone. So this goes back to basically to Abraham and Ishmael. Now, a Hadith records, when the second Caliph Umar ibn Khattab came to kiss the stone, he said in front of all assembled, "No doubt, I know that you are a stone, and can neither harm anyone nor benefit anyone. Had I not seen Allah's messenger Muhammad kissing you, I would not have kissed you. However, In the Hadith collection Kanz al-Umal, it is recorded that Ali responded to Umar saying, "This stone, Hajar Aswad, can indeed benefit and harm. Allah says in Quran that he created human beings from the progeny of Adam, as he made them witness over themselves and asked them, 'Am I not your creator?' Upon this, all of them confirmed it. Thus Allah wrote this confirmation, and this stone has a pair of eyes, ears, and a tongue, and it opened its mouth upon the order of Allah, who put that confirmation in it, and ordered to witness it to all those worshippers who came for Hajj." Muhammad Labib al-Batuni wrote in 1911, commented that the pre-Islamic practice of venerating stones, including the black stone, arose not because such stones are quote-unquote sacred for their own sake, but because of their relation to something holy and respected. The Indian Islamic scholar Muhammad Hamidullah summed it up in the meaning of the black stone. The Prophet has named the black stone the right hand of God. So this is why they use their right hand to point to it. Yamin Allah, and for purpose. In fact, one poses there one's hand to conclude the pact, and God obtains there our pact of allegiance and submission in the Quranic terminology. God is the king, and in his realm there is a metropolis, and in the metropolis naturally a palace or a home of God. If a subject wants to testify his loyalty, he has to go to the royal place and conclude personally the pact of allegiance. The right hand of the invisible God must be visible symbolically, and that is the Al-Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone in the Kaaba. In recent years, however, literalist views of the black stone have emerged. A small minority accepts as literally true as an allegorical hadith, which asserts that the stone will appear on the day of judgment, Qiyamah, with eyes to see and a tongue to speak, and give evidence in favor of all who kissed it in true devotion, but speak out against whoever indulged in gossip or profane conversations during his circumambulation of the Kaaba. Now, I've heard about this as well, where that's one of the parts of their revelation is they believe, or Muhammad's revelations was that one day the stone would speak, and like it would become animated and come to life. And that's insane, because that makes me think that there's some type of a being, or like a dark energy being attached to the stone that one day could come to life. That could be the thing that made the guy jump back when he kissed it. I mean, there is an energy and a force, protecting the stone. It's just a matter of who is it and what is it and how dangerous is this thing. Okay, now to conclude this class, what we're going to get into are the scientific origins, and then we will be wrapping up the 101 class, and then I will be continuing on, of course, with the 102 class, and that's where I'll get more into the YouTube videos that I've talked about earlier and a lot of the conspiracy stuff, and we'll get a lot deeper into this. But this is what I'm telling you guys today is only just facts so far. This is all facts that I have found in research, and I will have a reference page attached to this ebook for all of you, because it's so unbelievable. Again, the truth is so unbelievable compared to fiction. We don't even need to get there, and I won't even say that the conspiracy theory stuff that we will get into is any sort of fiction. No way. This is absolutely truth. Okay, now for scientific origins, it says, the nature of the black stone has been much debated. It has been described variously as a basalt stone, an agate, a piece of natural glass, or most popularly, a stony meteorite. Paul Partsch, the curator of the Austro-Hungarian Imperial Collection of Minerals, published the first comprehensive history of the black stone in 1857, in which he favored a meteoritic origin for the stone. Robert Dietz and John McHone proposed in 1974 that the black stone was actually an agate, judging from its physical attributes, and a report by an Arab geologist that the stone contained clearly discernible diffusion banding, characteristics of agates. Now, a significant clue to its nature is provided by an account of the stone's recovery in 951 AD, after it had been stolen 21 years earlier. According to a chronicler, the stone was identified by its ability to float in water. If this account is accurate, it would rule out the black stone being an agate, basalt lava, or stony meteorite, although it would be compatible with it being made of glass or pumice stone. Elizabeth Thompson of the University of Copenhagen proposed a different hypothesis in 1980. She suggested that the black stone may be a glass fragment or impactite from the impact of a fragmented meteorite that fell some 6,000 years ago at Wabar, a site in the Rub al-Khali Desert, 11,000 kilometers east of Mecca. The craters at Wabar are notable for the presence of blocks of silica glass fused by the heat of the impact and impregnated with beads of a nickel-iron alloy from meteorite, most of which was destroyed by the impact. Now, some of the glass blocks are made of a shiny black glass with a white-yellow or interior as gas-filled hollows, which allow them to float on water. Now, although scientists did not become aware of the Wabar craters until 1932, they were located near a caravan route from Oman and were very likely known to the inhabitants of the desert. The wider area was certainly well known in ancient Arabic poetry. Wabar, or Ubar, also known as Iram of the Pillars, was the site of a fabulous city that was destroyed by fire from the heavens because of the wickedness of the king. If the estimated age of the crater is accurate, it would have been well within the period of human habitation in Arabia, and the impact itself may have even been witnessed. A recent 2004 scientific analysis of the Wabar site suggests that the impact event happened much more recently than first thought, and might have occurred only within the last 200 to 300 years. The meteorite hypothesis is now seen as doubtful, as the British Natural History Museum suggests that it may be a pseudo-meteorite, i.e., a terrestrial rock mistakenly attributed to a meteorite origin. Okay, so they're going back and forth on this. You know, at one point they're saying, oh, this is definitely a meteorite, and on the other hand they're saying, nope, this is a stone, nope, it's a piece of glass, nope. Maybe they should just admit that they don't know what it is. I think the overall theme here is that this thing definitely came from outer space. It came from somewhere else. It's definitely something that fell to the ground from another space, in another place. So, you know, it would just be nice if maybe science would just admit at some point that maybe they don't know something. Maybe they don't know enough. Or what they could really do, if we want to get even deeper, is that they do know what it is, and they know exactly what it is, and they're not going to tell us what it really is. Because then they'd have to tell us a lot more. Because if A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D, then eventually they have to uncover all of the lies and all of the things that they're really keeping from everyone. And what they're keeping from everyone is the truth. I don't see why it is so difficult for people to just tell the truth about everything in every situation. And I mean that about every single human being that lives on this planet, and every person of power and every role. And you know, we just really cover a lot of things up. There's so many little white lies and so many things that we don't we just aren't 100% honest about. And it's because of the foundations that this world has been built upon. And this place clearly is one of the main foundations that is being physically, physically and spiritually affecting many human beings. There's a lot of people believe that this stone has something to do with Saturn, the planet Saturn. And I've also spoken about the fact that the Kaaba building has a connection to Saturn. There's a lot of people that link the fact that Saturn has a hexagonal cube, or a hexagon shape really, on its northern pole. And everyone seems to think that it has something to do with the black cube in the Kaaba building. That the black cube, the Kaaba structure itself, from an aerial perspective, what is a cube but a hexagon? So when we get into the conspiracy theory topics based upon these two things, the Kaaba and the black stone, you will see how much deeper the rabbit hole really is going on this one. And I believe this is only the beginning. So I really do thank all of you for showing up today. And I hope that this class was informative and helpful. And I do apologize for butchering a lot of the pronunciations here, but please do follow along with your ebooks. And I really do appreciate your feedback. I make these classes, a lot of what I will do here is based on your feedback. And please send us, some feedback, some mini questions. Do you have other topics that you think we should cover? Anything else that I didn't go further into detail on that perhaps you would like for me to go further into detail on? I'm really doing this for all of you. So please, let us know what we can do to help. What other truths can we help you reveal at the message? So I thank you very much for being with me on this day, and I will of course see you in the next class.